The Christian life is a journey. At times we travel alone, sometimes in fear, sometimes with deep longing. At other times we travel with others, sharing the wisdom and hunger, the treasures of our past, and the hopes and fears for our future. At times we have travelled with old friends, talked of shared experiences. At other times we walk alongside those new to us, sharing the richness each has for the other. There are times of parting, when journeys take a different course. And in that pain of separation, the Spirit moves among us. When retirement comes, it brings such partings. Whether the time of serving has been lifelong or much shorter, the laying down of a treasured burden can be hard.
Gracious God, together we thank you for the gift of those who now enter retirement, who have shared their lives with us. Now begins a time of transition, an opportunity both to reflect and learn from the past, and an opportunity to wait on you to discover the new beginnings we have in store.
For those retiring from active ministry,
we thank you.
For the taonga of a faithful past,
We
Spirit-guided future.
We thank you.
Mauri ore te whānau, ko Silpo Kuinga, and I've been given the honour of facilitating our kōrero, our talanoa that we're going to have today with these actually there are 4 retirees. I was quite excited. Actually, I was nervous at first, but then I was more excited when I saw the names and saw that I had a connection with Jill, who actually, when I first started youth ministry, Jill was I was her sidekick actually, but my mentor, and then have been able to work alongside Mark and and then Alofa, I met really today, but I haven't seen her around. But my husband is Samoan, and Alofa's Samoan, so we're now connected. And this week I'm Samoan. So, all right, am I taking my part? Yeah. Okay, let's do this. All right. All right. Kia ora. The thing I like about a talanoa and a kōrero is it's informal. It's a time for us to just have a chat. And I think, you guys have been in your ministry for so long, lots of formality. We want you to be relaxed and have a time to just reflect on your time in ministry. So, Alofa, we're going to start with you. I had fun reading your profile about your very first day of ministry, and I won't talk about it because I'll leave that for you. But the question is, can you share with us some of your most challenging moments in ministry?
Well, talk about challenging moments, it's so many, but I'll just speak of a few, especially putting me into a cooperating venture after my, as a probationer. And as you know, that probationers are not really welcome in a unity parish. But it was a real challenge for me, and it was a building, experience for me as well. So, especially when we were taught at the college, this is just looking back at the theological college, we weren't shown how to do baptism and communion properly, in a proper way. Well, I don't know what the proper way is anyway. I was just following the crowd. So holding a baby after that long was just a real challenge, and it was a great experience, especially when she was trying to wriggle in my arms, and then I prayed hard. You should have seen I was just as nervous as anything. But the prayers were going as fast as a motor vehicle then. I don't think if the traffics were running that time, I would have beaten them. And the prayers, but luckily, God has been with me and has shown and proven to me that I am here, I am with you, and I will hold your hand. So it's been a great learning for me, a great experience, and I really enjoy my time in all the parishes I have been, and also while we were on the field going out for our placement. I really value that time, and I thank the church for taking us in, and especially being new as on the field. That's where I have never forgotten the first moment of getting the experience of trying to tame a wild child. And also there were some wild big ones as well. Anyway, there's lots more. We can talk more about it afterwards.
Just find Alofa on Facebook and you can hear more stories. Mark, now you've had an interesting eclectic ministry with a huge passion in ecology and a commitment to green theology, hikoi, cycling pilgrimage. Can you tell us about some of your proudest moments and your highlights in ministry?
No. There are too many. You say eclectic. Eclectic, yeah, I know that. I'd prefer rich. My kete is overflowing, and I have huge gratitude to the church for the incredible diversity of experience that I've been able to have from international to local level. What's not written in the tribute, the written tribute in the conference material, really reflects the early years. This church asked me to represent it on the Presidium of the Conference of Churches of Aotearoa, New Zealand for 3 years. It was a huge responsibility and an honour, and just the experiences I had during that journey were incredible. This church asked me to be the national convener of candidates for ministry that I carried for 3 years. Once again, an incredible opportunity. There's just been so much. Everything from baptising a baby and a teenager in Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, the Pacific Ocean. The local stuff. But being on the front lines of the earthquake in Ōtautahi Christchurch completely changed my ministry, and it hasn't been the same since. And all of my ministries from that point of the ministry of the earthquake have all been focused in East Christchurch, which was the front line. So 25 years of ministry, I would say it's felt like 35. The 10 years, the first decade from the earthquake was incredibly intense, and 1 year felt like 2, and so on. Just so many experiences. A lot of you know about the ecological stuff. Walk for the Planet, 7 Rivers Walking. They were all amazing experiences through which I grew. I've always preferred the creative edge of the church rather than looking to be at the centre, because it's on the creative edge where you're engaged mostly with the community, and that's where a lot of the exciting conversations have happened. The people on the edge of the church, the people in the community, the ones that want to have the spiritual and theological conversations, not the people in the church. I wasn't expecting that, but that's what I've discovered. So, a lot of incredible stuff, and the mind mainly goes blank when I try and think of all those experiences, but as I say, the kete feels like it's overflowing, so thank you.
Jill, now you've had a long and windy road, not only within parish ministry, but also as General Secretary, and obviously youth ministry coordinators as with Central South Island. And Superintendent of Nelson Opera. So we've had a few hats on in your ministry. So my question for you is, can you share with us some of the most influential people who you have shared the road with on your journey in ministry?
Well, I need to start by acknowledging the people that I wouldn't be here if they hadn't loved me. So I want to acknowledge Morris. Morris's ministry amongst many of you was quiet. If you Donald Phillips, it was quiet with a bottle of the best whiskey that could be purchased. But I want to acknowledge him because he enabled me to do what I wanted and needed to do. And he's the one who told the bedtime stories when I was at parish councils and goodness knows what other meetings. He's the one that listened to the children when I was at meetings. And my lovely eldest daughter once, I only remember her being angry once in her life, said to me, "If you didn't work for the church, we'd be rich." So Sonia, I'm sorry. She's watching. And I hope Peter's with you, and tell him I love her. Chris and Kirsty and Nellie and Leaf have provided me with home in Auckland. And I could never beat a son, daughter-in-law and grandchildren. And then Karen and John and Jaden in Christchurch. And Alicia High in the Gold Coast. Thank you for watching. But those people are the people who've enabled that long, windy road that you talked about. And so what I want to do is this. I just thought about this and I said to Te Aroha when I first spoke to her, can I just stand for 15 minutes and say thank you for 15 minutes? And we decided that might be a little bit boring. So I'm going to do it the other way around. What I'm going to ask you to do, if you're willing, is if I have ever had a conversation with you, so if it's been a little bit more than just passing, smiling you on a presidential visit or something, but if I've had at least a sentence conversation with you, because if I did, that touched my life and influenced who I am. I wondered if you mind standing up. So anyone in the room that I have at least had a conversation with. Thank you, we sit down. So you can see that if I thanked who I wanted to thank, we'd be here a long time, because every single person in this church that has ever touched my life, whether it's been to debate, whether it has been to disagree, whether fortunately most things have been pretty good, but every single person teaches me something and has left some form of themselves and their love and their challenge. So I'd ask you, if you would, when you've got a minute, read the tribute that my dear friend Michael Greer wrote, because the people in that, I don't want to go through and name all those people, but they were the ones that got me to this point. And then in terms of others, I just look out there and I see that Margaret Smiley, I think, Margaret, you're the person that I've known the longest in the room, that you were at the very first Methodist church I was ever at in Howick with your wonderful, wonderful Irish parents. If there's anyone who thinks they've known me longer, then welcome to say. But there are people in this room who are kind-hearted, who are thoughtful. I just look up and see Catherine Walters, who took all the trouble to photograph coffee bars and gave me a calendar for when I moved to Christchurch. But the hours she spent photographing 12 coffee bars and then making little comments. And I valued that calendar, and I thought I'd lost it, but I found it. And I could just keep going. And I don't want to, so I've acknowledged you all by asking you to stand. The sort of moments, the church has gifted me the privilege of lunching with Nelson Mandela. along with a lot of other people. But poor Tabaki Tupou was the president, and he felt he couldn't leave the conference, so the vice president got to go. So wonderful things like that, of visiting Fiji, of visiting Tonga, of visiting the Solomon Islands, arriving pitch black and nobody there, and I didn't even know I had to go, and discovered it was a little tourist island out somewhere off Helena Golden Hospital. Eventually a little dinghy turned up with a man who didn't speak English, picked up my suitcase, put it in this tin dinghy, and there was no lights or anything, and we just headed out to sea, to our trust. After a while I saw a little lamp in the distance, and I thought, oh, this is really good. And eventually we got there, and I found Phil Taylor, dear Phil Taylor, and his daughter Karen. And we stayed in a cabin there and sort of did this boat thing. The wonderful holiday that I had with Sataita in Tonga, that's worth a whole evening on its own. But when we got in our cabins the first night after the most incredibly terrible trip, in the dark, the boatman lost all the signs to get us through a coral reef, and we went round and round in circles with Sataita sitting there talking very Tongan, straight-faced, and me thinking, are we going to die? And it was really good, and we got into our cabin, and then a rat ran across the floor, and I went, Sataita, I'm coming to live with you. And so I rushed with my suitcase, and we had a wonderful holiday. Then it rained all day the next day, so we put on our winter coats, sat in this beautiful building with no walls, freezing cold, and that's that wonderful island, Atata, that has been destroyed. And so when I saw that man who survived, wonderful memory. So the church has made me that the wonderful time that David Bush and I were lucky enough, and then Mary Cagle, we went off to the World Methodist Council. Our conference had sort of kept away from it for a while, and but we decided we needed to go back. That was Tabaki Tupou's challenge to us. So Mary and I went off, and that's the time I got a doctorate for half an hour, because the woman that was chairing, dear lady, you had to have a doctorate because she was American. So every time Dr. Cagle got up, followed by Dr. Vanderveer, it was really cool, but I lost it. It didn't stick. So all those wonderful experiences, there have been sad ones, not a lot. There have been hard ones. The bicultural journey was not easy for those of us who were there at the beginning, but I pay tribute to all those people who, particularly in Te Tahu Māori, who enabled me to become aware of the issues and to understand the journey, and who was so loving and so welcoming. And I particularly want to honour Pariwaka, because she became Morris's best friend, and they had a wonderful relationship, and that was a lovely link for him. He was very, very fond of Pari. Tus, wonderful Tus, and Doreen, who's here, and I want to, and one of the really good things was the strong woman in Te Tahu Māori who showed me that just because Tahu Māori had chosen, they were on a particular journey, and the Pākehā who were leading us in that journey were in that time of the 80s. It was not very good educational methodology in society as well. So we were sort of pushed along, but I discovered that Tahu Māori women weren't yes women, because we thought, oh, they just couldn't do what they're told. But I met Repia Roundtree, and I met Kirihari Tuku, and they were told that they were not allowed to come to a women's conference that we were having at Living Springs, that the Vice President of the time and I were running. And they said, well, of course we're going to come. So they came along and they played rebel.
And so those two lovely, strong, tough ladies taught me that, you know, you can still have a mind and you can still go for things. So you're going to ask me two more, so I can have two more guys, so I'll have to stop.
Thank you, Jill. I think we can all agree with Jill in the fact that none of us would be here in ministry without our families working very hard at home to help support us the extra we do. So thank you, Jill. Now we do have one more retiree who's not here today, and unfortunately due to health issues, he couldn't come. That's Lee Sundberg. But gratefully, through the wonder of technology, Michael was able to interview him. And we actually have his family also watching, so kia ora to your family, Lee. Welcome. We're going to have a video, and we'll be really grateful to be able to give Lee the opportunity to share his journey as well in ministry. Now for us, we might want to turn our chairs.
Good enough. Yep, good.
It's my great honour to be able to take the time as part of our recognition of retirees for our conference 2022 to sit down with Reverend Lee Sundberg. And there's just a few questions that we'd like to discuss this morning, Lee. First of all, how did you find the transition from ministry in South Africa to New Zealand? Did ministry coming all the way from the other side of the world into New Zealand, did it fail to, or did it meet or defy your expectations? We'd love to hear your insight on those things.
Thank you. I had a contract with Kiwis born early on because my mum was Kiwis. For me, the journey began after I formed circuit spoke to David Bush, and he came to the World Congress of Methodists in what time? Some years ago, and I invited him to visit us for a weekend, and we chatted. I agreed, and the church agreed, to go to Kiwi for 6 months, and we took it to one day. The thing was, it was a chance of Merlian, because I don't know what to expect, but it was tremendously transformative for me. Died, also died my wife. A conference stationed me for 6 months as a supply minister to Hamilton East. And I was amazed at the differences I came across. One had an expectation, you know, as well, but I had to set aside my expectation to concentrate is I was still serving my congregation in South Africa in fourth system, but I was amazed at things like the diversity that you had in the church. Methodist Church is by far the largest church in South Africa. And they, with everyone and experience that apartheid was quite prevalent. And so the diversity and attending church service and making the constituency as was a challenge. I'm amazed at the diversity and the sympathy. Guy's mom died, and the love of folks, they hold Tonga Church. Was at the doorstep before I could go home, and before I got to my front door and see outside, I was amazed. The grace upon grace, not to mention it, but they were fond me, supported me, invited me, asked, and involved us in very many different ways. Baptism, meals, Wi-Fi nights, etc. And when I came back after my 6 months, and Razan took early retirement to turn to Tauranga, and it's just the same. It's the same. I got to know some people very well, particularly Dr. Susan Thompson, was great in helping me to enter. But it met my expectation in a good way. I would say that the ministry should, because preaching is required for.
What has been the most rewarding and challenging parts of your ministry? You had a ministry in your life thing, essentially for you. Reading in your record of retirement around your work. I believe you served in the Air Force or back home, but you were already involved in lay ministry in various capacities. Looking at the whole picture of your ministry career, what have been the most rewarding and challenging parts of your ministry?
I actually came from used to was a youth leader one was in structure and very local based. We did the goose and the youth checked for hold of me, and I grew argue and understand from youth into preaching, and eventually candidated the use of one well organized and average, and I appreciated the surrounding of what we called my band of wise. South Africans are not one to mince with, and I had to learn the meaning of grace. People, I wrestled with a super idea and wanted entering and Kiwis, yes, I do know creative statement to change, and I'm Johnny Potts Roaring and was pastoral work, and that's the way the camp was. I had an awful lot of weddings, very spiritual, and etc. And I had to get understanding of how liturgy works in New Zealand. What were the boundaries? How I could create, etc. I one band of ones. They are actually leaders and what local preachers. We had the best seats in the house for Our Lady, local preachers, Penny, Wood, Murray, Murray, all you name, good.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you raised, having those relationships with various lay people within the parish who understand the context and the life of the church and area very well. It's important in ministry to be able to partner and journey with people and not have a sense of trying to impose too much your own thoughts. But so with all of these things that you shared this morning, Lee, thank you for your time again. Focusing into the New Zealand context, we're at the Methodist Conference for Te Hapu Te Reanga. Here and now, with your experience in ministry, what are the greatest challenges the church faces today, and what do you think would be the starting point to addressing these challenges?
relevancy. We need the relevance, like the right of Western board, especially the English-speaking churches in England, Australia. We have a continuous struggle to be relevant. There is still somewhat of business as usual, and I want nice service, complete with amplified. I'll go home. We've been doing a great time. It's hard to stay relevant. It requires effort. It requires a not just to receive, but give. And it requires being uncomfortable situations. Sometimes not trying to gain power, but we need to know that rain people are very much the pillars. I was amazed at a year and a half when I went to town, when we immigrated. The Hamish folk all come across mountains to be with me and my injunctions to. And that's wonderful.
I think that's great. That's a great time of wisdom for the church, especially with it being our bicentennial conference, and the theme that the presidential team have chosen is about looking back but also moving forward. And we can only move forward if we understand how the church can remain relevant to its calling, to its context, and to what the Spirit is saying. And I think that's a great challenge that you've left conference with to dwell upon and to reflect upon. And we're so grateful and to you as well, Diane, off camera, but that's there faithfully serving for your time to be able to sit down with us and to share. It is a shame that your ministry was cut a bit short due to health, but we are nonetheless grateful for the time that you've given to the parishes that you served here at Aotearoa. And we wish you all the best in whatever's next for you in your retirement, and especially in relation to your health. We pray that God would continue to be your strength. And we thank you once again for the opportunity to be able to sit down and to talanoa with us.
I think what he's trying to say is that after the stroke, the church, both in Tauranga and as church leadership, never abandoned us. They were there for us. The support was phenomenal. It wasn't just the phone calls and we prayed for you, but it was very practical. Very practical stuff. And I think that what he's trying to do is to say thank you to the church for that support and for that we weren't abandoned. We were supported and loved way beyond what we had earned 6 years. If one could ever believe in I don't know how.
Thank you, Emily, for sharing that story, because I know you are watching. I do want to quickly say, Lee, that last night while watching your video, a few of your Hamilton East girls recognised you and could not speak highly enough of you. So thank you for sharing that story. Now, we have some special performers. The Northland Choir, who have been waiting very patiently out the back here, have come to perform for us today. So welcome to the Northland Choir.
to thank you very much for your contribution to this afternoon's celebration and service. We'd like to give another round of applause as well.
I heard that they're getting shot at McDonald's. They deserve it. Ask for it. Upsize. All right. Should we get you guys to sing a song each? Jill just said that. All right. All right. We've got a couple more questions for you guys. Jill, we'll go that way. Yep. Okay. What insights might you share with the rangatahi, the young people who may be considering ministry in Te Hahi?
We can't see you all. We can't see you.
I have to start the other way round. I think what I would want to do is to say to all of us older people, and I mean anybody who's over about 35, that it is actually, if you read that tribute that Michael wrote for me, it's very clear. It was the presbyters and the lay people who in fact saw in me things that I was not a particularly ambitious person. I have bright ideas, I love to do things and I jump into your patch and tell you what to do. But I don't sort of have any great ambitions to do anything power's not really what interests me, it's people. And so those ministers identified in me. I could never have suggested or even thought I could play an organ at 12 for a congregation. But John Osborne and Ed Boyd and Dave Bazant did. So those dear men chose their hymns on Monday so that by the next Sunday I could play them. And as I reflect back, I think I was actually quite good. I didn't know I was quite good, but now that I have been a professional musician, I was pretty good. But I would never ever have thought that. So if the adults in the church are just hanging on to the jobs, and because somebody's played the organ until they're 90, it's not good enough. And it's about, so it's the rangatahi, yeah, I would say things like believe in yourself, trust your gut, because young people today are getting battered by social media right, left and centre, and they're getting all this horrible stuff thrown at them, and it's up to us to ensure that we are being affirming and seeing in those young people what they yet can't see. And I could never have thought I would have done most of the things I've done. Never. All I ever wanted to do was be a primary school teacher. Didn't do it for very long because I was too bossy. I sort of kept doing other things. But all of those spirit-filled for me, or spirit-led experiences that came up in front of me that I was able to take was literally because people were kind enough and observant enough to think I might be able to do something. So you can't wait for young people to know that they can do it. And by the time they perhaps know they can do it, it's too late because they've gone down another path and you can't get off a path often. So I would encourage the rangatahi, and I think working with Seo was a wonderful experience for me. That was a fabulous partnership. And without Webster, I learned a tremendous amount from you and Alan, and I believe you two learned an awful lot from me. It was mutual. So I would say to them, if you feel God's call on your life, then just trust that and listen and go with it and talk to people and just try out leadership. How many young people have you got on your leaders meeting? Have you got any? No? How many have you got? I was on Trinity College Council when I was, I think, nearly 40. David Bush, how old were you when you went on Trinity College Council?
22.
22. So at 22, that leadership skill was identified not by David. He was a student, but the governance body saw in that 22-year-old something that was fostered. Rua Rakana said to me when I rang him one day and said to him, Rua and I had a quite love-hate relationship, a fun one, and I love ringing him up because he was always, he'd have me on and then I'd never know if he was serious or not. But a very wise thing he said to me, I rang and said to him, look, I've been asked to go on Wesley College Trust Board and I want your opinion. And he said, well, Jill, the first thing I'd say to you is you must always have a partner. If you're young, you don't send a young person onto a board by themselves. So you send them a partner so that they've got someone to talk to and someone that they can, So any rangatahi, I would just say encourage them and listen to them, because it's no good then just thinking, well, God's talking to me and I think I might be called to ministry, or I might be, because if none of us are talking to them, then they're not going to come through. So it's about just quietly listening, not pushing. You're on a committee in the Methodist Church is still there at 100. But it's not that sort of push, but it's the identification of stuff that you actually do. So for me, it's about encouragement. And I don't think it's up to them totally themselves, but I would just simply say to a young person, trust your gut and have faith in yourself.
Mark, what action would you encourage Te Hāhi to undertake in response to climate change, justice into the future? Is that too big? In 2 minutes.
I think you can only look forward if you look back. And we need to get a handle on where this journey began. This church has been talking about climate justice for 17 years. It started in 2005 at a conference in Ōtautahi when Dr. John Salmon was president, and he was the first president. Believe you me, I've been to a lot of conferences before then. He was the first president who even acknowledged we have an ecological crisis, and he was the first president to name climate change and that we needed to get to work. And we've, I don't know what the metaphor or adjective is, but we've wandered around and some good stuff's happened, but it's all been pretty low key. I put my neck out at that conference after that presidential address, and we got the Methodist Ecology Network, which went for a few years, and then other initiatives grew out of that, like Walk for the Planet, and in the Central South Island Synod, the River of Life initiative that I led, and it's been growing quietly, slowly, but yeah, this conference, there is something coming from the Climate Justice Working Group, and it's asking this church to commit to a decade of climate justice. And a lot of work's gone into getting us to this point. And I believe we've only got to this point because of Te Taha Māori and Pacifica leadership. We need to know what climate justice or climate crisis or climate injustice is about. It's only a symptom. It's an expression, it's something that comes out of colonisation. The colonisation of peoples and of creation, natural world, the community of life, whatever we prefer. Colonisers walk on the land and live off the land. Decolonised people or indigenous peoples walk and live in the land. And this has got to be a big part of what we wrestle with if we're going to be serious about a decade on climate justice. And it's about getting closer to the land, our relationships. It doesn't escape me that here we are in this auditorium and we cannot see the natural world. We're not connected with it. So it's got to start locally, and we've got to learn to think and live regeneratively. And as some of you know, I work on a project in my other life that, okay, I'm going to Skype. Yesterday it went public that our project has won a national award. So they're called the Kumara Awards. You might have heard of them. We've only had them for 2 years. And there are a lot of nominations in Ōtautahi, Waimakariri, Selwyn, a lot of the Canterbury area. And 5 projects won a Kumara, so we're pretty chuffed. But that's about being local, and Synod was able to hear some of that story in August. We happened to be meeting 800 metres from the centre of that mahi, and so we walked down there. But it's about being local, it's about developing an authentic relationship with whenua. Whenua is a lot more than just the dirt under our feet. It's everything that lives off it and is part of it. And we really need to take that seriously. And that's got to be part of our mahi in the decade. I'm a believer. I believe this conference is going to pass that. But that is only the first step. There's got to be an awful lot of other steps as we learn to walk in this land. And that will make a huge difference to the climate. The Sabbath, the Jubilee, this is my new fresh thought as part of this decade. It's about a Sabbath for the land every 7 years. My challenge to every parish, every part of this church, raw hair, board, whatever, if your life doesn't happen on a piece of land, find one locally. Work with others in your community. But if you are responsible for part of land, it's my experience, it's mostly building and car park. That needs to change. So, switching into the Sabbath Jubilee idea, make at least a 1/7 of that land living. Plant it. Let it be part of the regenerative future. Nourish it, live with it, learn from it, share it with the community, and let's see what happens. Tiny forests are a thing. They are taking off all around the planet, and it can be as small as a tennis court. So that's part of my challenge for looking forward on climate justice. But
Thank you, Mark. I was thinking the same thing, Peter. The tennis court's not very small, but I do love your 1/7. I think it's something that is achievable for us. I love that. Yeah. So, in your time of ministry, what do you think you might have done differently, knowing what you know today? Was that not the one? No, change that question. Yeah. Okay. Next question. I'm sorry. Okay. How did some of your earlier experiences help to guide and shape your ministry?
I think I'd rather answer the first one. Well, I think I've still got a lot to learn and to, I didn't even think I would arrive at this moment this year. I was working on the ministry, I've got too much to share, but every conference, I don't have a voice to say what I need because all the other ones get up before me. And then this is what, as Joe was commenting on, well, this is going another way now, another tangent of this question, but looking at the young ones, getting on board, my experience with some of our cultural issues that we have with young ones, they seem to be, their voices seem to be hidden and not even showing, or the adults are the big, are not listening. I think that's the problem, is not listening. I think I'm one of them that don't want to listen sometimes when I hear the adults not giving a voice to our children. So that was one of the things I wanted to share with you, with our young ones. Please, whatever cultural issues we have with our young ones, let them come up and say what they want to say. And let us spare a moment to hear them and then put them in the front and they can share what they have. It's very important. I've learned a lot from them, and working in congregations with mixtures of young ones, our culture can be a real boundary to our young ones. So, what was the question again that I want to answer? Anyway, sharing in my ministry. I've got a very passionate passion. I'm in parish that's bearing with me, especially being a Samoan. Sometimes I don't think they understand me well, but I just show them my actions, and I think that's what they learn from, is actions. Can I ask a couple of our people that came with me if that was right? Okay, they say yes. But anyway, as I said, I wasn't prepared for retiring. I think my age caught up to me very quickly before, and with a young mind like mine, you can always borrow my mind and but other than that, I have to say thank you so much. I didn't want to say this because I get very emotional, but talking about climate, I cover what they, Jill and Mark have just done about climate change as well. Especially when we came up on a plane, you probably heard about the news on that plane that ran on one engine from Blenheim to Auckland yesterday. So that really struck my mind about climate change. This Auckland people, I think they're the worst ones out. Not helping with the climate change because they said the weather in Auckland was what caused it. So, you know, I've never been on a plane that landed and stopped halfway along the runway. And all these fire engines were just cluttering around us. And people taking photos of the plane, but not us, thank goodness. And I reckon the bigger the city, the worse it is. And this is, as Mark was giving, you know, just a word of acknowledgement to our people. I think it's us that actually need to make a start to that. Now, finally, to my question. I need to share with you, I encourage the young people, as I always value their contribution to anything that they do. Listening to our young ones that were up here today, you know, it really hits me in the heart, and that's where my heart is. I know there's a few that don't want to get off the ministry because there's a lot of white-haired one. I know that you're the pillars of the work, but give some opportunity to our young people. Our young ones that are coming up on the field, we wish you all the best, and you know where to start from. I wish you all the best. I said to people that I met today, the more I come to conference, you know, the less I don't want to leave the ministry. I really like the ministry, and I thank God for giving me an opportunity, although I started late, but to have so many friends that have built up my own faith and that have helped me with the work. So go well. I know that we always meet in prayer, and that without our God that we believe in, we would not be having more gatherings in the future. But to those that are coming to start the new ministry, I've met a few. Wish you all the best, and God be with you. Thank you. I think it touched a bit there, right?
I think it feels a little unfair sometimes when we hear your stories and the length of your ministry to condense it all into a couple of questions. But just know that we are all in awe of your ministries. Consider all of you, including Lee, huge mentors, you know, to all of us here. To finish off, I thought we'll do what's one word that you want to leave us with that describes your ministry. Ah, I think it's a good one. Oh, whoever wants to be first.
Adventurous.
I was going to ask you, but no.
Run through together.
She's trying to save her words for later, so I do well with McDonald's bribes. We'll come back to Jill. I can't say no to
Alofa.
All right, now we do have somebody waiting to perform for us. I fully changed the whole order. I'm so sorry, Michael. He's been messaging me the whole time, telling me off. But we do have Robin, so thank you, Robin, for being so patient. Robin's going to perform for us next.
This is a song that Jill asked me if I would sing, especially for this afternoon. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to Thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of Thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for Thee. Take my voice and let me sing ever only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from Thee. Take my life, my Lord, I pour at Thy feet, my treasure store. Take myself, and I will be ever only all for Thee.
We're going to stand and sing It Is Well With My Soul in Psalm 1.
It
Okay. Thank you.
We pray. Loving God, you call us and walk beside us. In you we live and move and have our being. You are the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. We have been blessed by your presence on our journeys with you. We have known your love and guidance. You call us even today to an unknown future built on that blessed past.
Help us to continue learning, knowing that one who has called us promises life in all its fullness. Help us enter into all new beginnings with the vision and hope of your Holy Spirit, whom with you and Jesus Christ we give glory this day. Amen.
Haere e ronga e te arua. Haere e ronga i te rangimarie o te ariki. Kia puta ki te theo, ki te ao mara.
No, I think it's 4 o'clock.
We've just found a phone. So if anyone's missing, it's, well, I can't read it. It's Sohe Manofaleani. If anyone's missing their phone, oh, okay. Sorry, she knows. Sorry? Yeah, fire. Yeah, what happened? What happened?